1, 2, 3,
Yeah,
4.
okay, I ride around my city when I come home.
Yeah,
The sunset quickly, then get up slow.
yeah.
I disconnect and upload. Watch it spin around. We just spin around.
Yeah.
Let's go and travel through the unknown.
Yeah.
We play it cool, we know we fucked though.
Yeah.
You keep on saying you're in love, so tell me, are you really down? Are you really down?
Yeah.
Let's go back to my crib and play some 45s.
Yeah.
It's safer there, I know it's still a war outside.
Yeah.
We spend our nights all liquored up, our mornings high. Can you feel it now?
Yeah.
Oblivion, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oblivion, yeah.
Yeah. Babylon 5 podcast. How's everybody doing? Babylon 5 podcast, episode 7. It's your boy, your host, Jermaine Event. How's everybody doing? How's your week? How's your weekend? Was your weekend good? Anything exciting? For me, I didn't do too much, you know. Went and saw some things. I'm talk about that in a little bit. Hold on. Let me just can y'all chill out for a second? Let me just do the whole thing. You know, the social medias. If you want to see, if you want to talk to your boy, follow your boy on Twitter. Follow the podcast. It's at Babylon5Pod. You can follow my personal Twitter. Is at my name's Jermaine. Can email your boy for whatever reasons, inquiries, bookings, or whatever, yada, 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 da mean. You know what I'm saying? Yada, da, you figured a deal. At Babylon5podcast@gmail.com. And you should be listening to this bad boy. Subscribe to this bad boy if you can on Babylon5.podbean. Babylon5.podbean.com. You can listen to this on Stitcher, Spotify. Ladies and gentlemen, we are on iTunes, Apple Music. I'm not sure how you guys call it. I don't have it, I guess. But if you have it, go ahead and listen to it. Rate us. Give us a 5 stars. Is that how that works? You know, rate it real quick so it pops up in your iTunes as the newness, the hotness. That's the hot new shit over there. It's Babylon 5 podcast. They talking about some TV show? I ain't never seen an episode. We babbling. We just babbling. Yeah, so I was going to say, like, last week, sometime, like, maybe Monday, the wife and I, we were on, like, Netflix or whatever, just browsing, just going to put something on. We were on, like, whatever streaming service. I saw that the movie American Psycho was on there. I never seen it, so let's watch it. Why not? They got, like, the restaurant over here, Dorsia. People are super into it. Seems like it's a cool movie. Just to go back, before I give my opinion on that movie, only other time, it was, like, me and my old roommate. Only other time I've ever, been in the room where people were watching this movie, me and my old roommate, we went to meet up with these guys from when I worked at Whole Foods. We went to meet up with these guys that worked at Whole Foods. They were going to meet us at the bar at Cactus Club. We got there. They weren't there. They were like, yo, you can meet us over here. We get there. And these two dudes are, they're watching American Psycho. And it's like whatever. They give us beers. We're kicking it. I don't know. I've been pro marijuana for a long time. These guys were definitely not pro. I don't know. They were just like, other than like beer and drinking, they were definitely like against other things. It was kind of a weird interaction, to be honest. But whatever. After like maybe an hour of just kicking it over there, me and my old roommate, we left. And my old roommate, he's like, man, it was kind of weird that they were watching that movie. But since you knew those guys, like, I figured it was cool. And I was like, dog, man, I just met those two dudes earlier today, and I was completely weirded out myself that movie was on. So, like, because I wasn't really, like, paying attention to it. Like, it was, like, already on when we got there, and it just seemed weird. I was like, I must have missed something. And, yeah, so that was on. And that was my first time kicking it with those people. That was pretty weird. Anywho, so we watched this movie, and it's honestly one of the worst movies I've ever seen. I don't understand the appeal. I've seen people after I wrote about it, they said they wanted to watch it too, and then they were posting about how funny certain lines are, and people are pointing out the line like, "Don't just stare at it, eat it," and it's like, all right. Like, if you want to say that line is funny, cool. But does that make that movie good? I don't think so. The acting's terrible. And if the acting isn't terrible, like, because when I watch it, the behavior of Christian Bale's character is of a person who is insane. I mean, just the way he talks, his mannerism, everybody else speaks the same. They speak to people like a normal human being, but he'll be like, well, I like that, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, I think any of those normal speaking people would be like, yo, what's up with Paul, bruh? Paul's over there. Like, don't go to Paul's house, bruh. Like, no. Paul would not be, like, a murderer. He wouldn't be killing people at his apartment because they'd be like, dog, Paul's weird. Don't go hang out with Paul. Like, that movie, I was like, nah, this doesn't make any sense. He's a weirdo. And then, like, later on in the movie, he has, like, a gunfight with the police, like, 4-on-1. And, like, he's got a pistol, and he's blowing up cars, like, with his pistol. And I'm just like, yeah, this is trash. This movie is trash. Like, how did Christian Bale get work after this? Like, it's trash. And this one guy, he comments on my Facebook status, and he says, in the book, they do more explaining that all these interactions, this like craziness where he throws like a chainsaw like perfectly down the stairs and it catches somebody, like all this outlandish. It's just like they do more to inform you throughout that these are just his exaggerations. And I'm like, so, well, then you agree with me that the movie is terrible because they don't explain these things. They don't have these things. All right, if I can go to the book and then have that substance there, that's fine in that story. But as far as anyone just watching this movie, you should be like, yo, this is pretty dumb. Because there's just nothing, there's no context. They don't really explain anything. Then you get to the end and it's like, oh, it didn't really happen. And it's like, so I just like watched like a snuff film for no reason. I mean, there's never a reason, actually. But, and that's what I was thinking. I was like, part of me was, when I'm watching this, I'm like, maybe I've just gone soft. I feel like when I was younger, I could watch a film like this, and I don't think it affected me. I'm watching this movie, and I'm like turning away. It's pretty hard to watch images. I don't even want to discuss some of the things that are going on. It's pretty disgusting. And I'm just weirded out by the fact that there's a restaurant themed after this movie. I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And I was just thinking, like, did I get soft or some shit? Because, like, when I was younger, I would have no problem watching things like this. Though I was never really, like, a big action movie or something kind of person. I was more into comedies. I would just be watching, like, stand-up comedy. I guess I wasn't even into things like that, but I mean, I watch anime. Those are cartoons. I watched The Walking Dead, and I had no problem. I mean, I remember when I watched the scene where Negan burns that guy's face with an iron. I wasn't squeamish to that scene, but I guess I had read the comics, so I was already aware that that was coming. So, I mean, I already had that buffer. I remember my roommate was just like, "What is this show?" Shout out to Josh. He's like, "What is this?" I was like, "Man, this is The Walking Dead." He's like, "I thought they were worried about zombies." I'm like, "Dog, that's the least of their worries. Zombies. They're like flies at this point." Where was I? Shit. Yeah. So I'm like, maybe I got soft. But then, ladies and gentlemen, me and the wife and I mean, pardon my terrible English, the wife and I, I just wanted to backtrack. I'm not just on Apple Music. I should be all over the place. You know what I'm saying? I went over, just if you listen to podcasts, just search Babylon 5 Pod. Whichever way you listen to us, you should be able to find us. We should be everywhere at this point. Yeah. Me and the wife, we went and saw the movie Joker. First night. So I bought my tickets, and then I started seeing people saying like, "Yo, is anybody going to on opening night, or should we wait?" And everybody's like, "Yo, wait like a week, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, fuck, I already bought my tickets, you know. I already bought my tickets. Didn't even think about that nonsense. And it's so crazy that we live in a world where we have to think about that, where that's a thought, where someone posts on Facebook, like, I don't even know if it was a joke at first, but everybody's like, "Yo, wait at least like a week or whatever. At least wait a few days and see what happens." We went the first day. And I'll tell you this, ladies and gentlemen, as a black man from Milwaukee, I've never been so happy with seeing police presence. I'll tell you that much. I've never been so happy seeing police presence. Felt like made me feel warm. Felt like a brand new sweater in the fall. I was happy they were there. I didn't speak to them because, you know, it is what it is. But I was happy they were there. So, you know, I was enjoying the movie. I thought it was ironic because, you know, I'm worried about being at a movie because of certain behaviors that are portrayed in the movie that I'm watching right now. Like, the behaviors in Joker is exactly the behaviors of the kind of person that is making everybody afraid to go to the movies in the first place. I think Joker and American Psycho are very similar. And I say the big difference is that Joker has hindsight. Joker can come in and see that, hey, American Psycho didn't tie in all of these things here, and Joker definitely did tie in all those things. Hold on one second. Not my homie. This guy I went to high school with this guy. I think he's a film teacher. Anywho, his name's Brandon Hadnot. He does these reviews, and just want to share a little bit of that. Says Joaquin Phoenix is in just about every single shot as he drives us down the road of his character Arthur Fleck's progressive plunge into insanity, who identifies as Joker. He is in a constant dance with the cinematographer for the sum total of the alternate perspective. All right, so I wanted to just share that. Okay, a little bit more. A perspective that begs you to sympathize with the murderer, but reminds you in the ugliest ways why you can't. He's pretty dope at reviewing movies. He's pretty dope. So I just wanted to share a little bit of that. Hopefully I don't sound like Floyd Mayweather reading that. I tried to go through it a few times, pardon my highness. But yeah, so I want to say first takeaways from that to touch on. Even with that, I'd tell that me and Joker have same dance moves, same stand-up dreams, peep that, same occupation, peep that. It's just too many parallels for my comfort. That's where I was at with that one. Way too many parallels. But no, man, I don't know if I want to spoiler. How about this? Let's just throw a spoiler alert in there, and I'm just gonna talk. Joaquin is my boy, you know. Joaquin Phoenix is my boy. I've been rocking with Joaquins since at least since Gladiator. That was my ish. Joaquin murdered in this. It's like, man, it's so crazy. Like what Brandon was saying there, and that like it causes you to like sympathize with this murderer. And it's just all these scenes, everything that's happening, the way like you see just this person getting pushed around, and just like, man, it's just like he was definitely like, man, I don't even, just dealt a bad hand, but even regardless, you sympathize. Man, you can't help. It's crazy. It's a crazy story. I think everyone should go see it. I don't know if there's going to be continued police presence. I hope there is. I hope everybody can safely go see that movie. It's one of the best performances of our time. Joaquin, my nigga Joaquin. This that Joaquin Phoenix, don't you hear me screaming? This that Joaquin Phoenix, nigga. This that Joaquin Phoenix. Shout out to Lupe. Man, I can't even talk about it really, because just to talk about any of the scenes is just giving it away. And just, my wife was pointing out, because you know it's the story of the Joker, arch nemesis of Batman, and there's a scene where Joker interacts with young Bruce Wayne. My wife pointed out that they were basically wearing like the same outfit. Well, it was just like the same color pattern. It's just like, you know, and it was just like the little things, little nuances that they threw in there. Just those little aesthetics. It's pretty cool. Yeah, I want to go see it again. We'll see, maybe tomorrow. I don't know. I don't know. But I would suggest everybody go see it once or twice if you can. It was one of the best movies I've ever seen. Gave you a little bit of everything. You laugh. Man, you feel his pain. You feel a lot of people's pain, man. It's a crazy movie. It's emotional roller coaster. Joaquin did his thing. Check it out. Should we talk about some random stories? Let's go. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna talk to you about the random times that when I was younger, that I was thinking about enlisting into service, you know. First time that I was going to enlist, I was about to enlist into the Marines. So right after high school, well, you know, for whatever reason, I don't know how this is legal, but they'll let those recruiters into the cafeteria, and it's like, oh, everybody come pull up, do some pull-ups, and we'll give you a t-shirt. And it's just propaganda, man. oh, you're a tough guy. Maybe you could, because you could do if you could do that many, you could be a Marine. And it's propaganda. How do they let people like that in with young children or kids at that point? I don't think we should be able to. They shouldn't be able to talk to us until we're like 22. We should be at a point where we're like, all right, okay, I want to do this. I'm at this point in my life. I'll do that. I don't think you shouldn't be talked into such a thing when you're like 17. But so toward the end of high school, I had some friends, well, like after high school, that were going, and I was talking to them about it. I was drinking the Kool-Aid, and before you knew it, I met with their recruiter. He was signing on to do this thing. It was like the buddy program or whatever. So when they left, I think they were gonna leave in like October, November, some shit like that. Like I was gonna leave with them. We could go to boot camp together. I was like, oh, that's cool. We could be buddies in boot camp. But I hear that's like terrible. I hear anybody that if you're hearing this, I hear if you go to boot camp with your buddy through that whatever system they're doing, they're gonna like make y'all do twice as much, make y'all into the bitches of the whole squadron. So I wouldn't do that. I'm gonna be drinking some water throughout here. Yeah, so we was gonna do that. I did the whole thing. Like I had to go get my medical history. Like when I was like 6 or 7, I got trampled on the school bus and it broke my wrist. It was like a fight. So there was a fight on the school bus. People were running to see the fight. I was in the aisle and I got trampled of like being like the smallest person on the bus. So when I was enlisting, you have to like sign a waiver where like, oh, if you get hurt like if my wrist gets hurt while I'm in service, like they're not liable for it because I've already shown that I've had like like this injury. Like it's kind of bogus, but like you gotta sign those waivers that when I was like 6 or 7, I broke my wrist, and so I did that. I was gonna do the whole thing, but I just remember. I told him, like, I don't think I could, ironically, I was like, I don't think I can be away from my family that much. Like, I was still, at the time, I still lived with my mom. Like, I think, most of us still lived there at the time. And I was just like, I can't be away from my family that much at the time. Times have changed, but that's crazy because, like, hindsight, no, I definitely wouldn't have enlisted. I would have used my time on other things. But, no, so I didn't join the Marines because I didn't want to be away from my family. And then maybe a year or two later, I don't even remember how. I got in contact with this Army guy. Maybe I hit them up. I think, yeah, because my idea was I wanted to be military police. I don't know why. I think I had a couple friends at this point who were Marines, obviously at this point, friends who were in different branches, and they were telling me like to join, like Army would probably be the best branch to join, and then like either like be military police or like ranger school or something like that. I don't know. So I joined. I didn't join. I was thinking. I think I contacted the Army and to enlist. And my mindset was that, and I talked to the recruiter about it, that I wanted to be military police, and he was telling me that like the FBI usually takes military police like straight out of service. I was like, well, that's perfect. That's like, that would be my dream, is to like, because like at that time in my life, at that trajectory, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go to the service for at least like 7 years and like be military police, and then come out, and he's telling me that like I would be able to take those years of service and then go straight to the FBI, is what he was telling me. From what I'm to understand now is that was a complete lie. I don't think that's factual. I think there's a lot I would have to do. I don't think I would in any way qualify for the FBI after those years of service. So there's that. I remember the guy was the recruiter for the Army. He was asking me, like, he's like, well, what kind of things you like to do? You like to play video games? I was like, yeah, I play like, he's like, you play Call of Duty? I was like, yeah, I play Call of Duty. Man, I play like, all the games, play Call of Duty. And he's like, man, that's like what most people do. They're just like sitting in the barracks, like just playing Xbox, man. That's what most people do, just playing, like, he was saying, like, most people think it's, like, combat and all this. Like, this is all they got to worry about. He's like, nah, man. It's like, you just go, you work your job, and you sit in your barracks. He's like, you got to be on base, man. It's like, just in case. And he's like, and we don't have any threats. He's like, we got bases here, here, here. Like, there's no threats. He's telling me all this, like I would never have to worry about, like, even really, like, he's telling me not to even think about being, like, shipped out to any kind of war areas. So I'm like, all right, cool. And, there was this guy was kind of like a Hispanic guy, I think he was kind of Hispanic. I'm not sure. He could have been white. But there was a black recruiter guy there. My recruiter had a Purple Heart. I know that was his thing. That was his thing. And okay, so before I go to the black guy, so I told the guy, I was like I smoke. And he was like, "Oh yeah, that's fine. Everybody smokes in the service. People smoke all day in the service," which I'm like, "Oh, word, right?" So I think he maybe assumed that I was talking about cigarettes. I did not smoke cigarettes at the time, and I said I smoked. And the only reason I thought he was being serious is because I've known people who have been in the service, and the way they've explained it to me is that it basically comes down to the discretion of whoever's leading their squad. It said, like, sometimes if it was, like, a cool person leading their squad and they was, like, in a certain area where people were, like, growing weed, like, and if they're, like, in Afghanistan or something, somebody's growing weed in their front lawn, they just, like, grab a couple nuggets or buy something off of them or something, and then, like, they'll let you smoke. But it depends on the squad leader. So I was like, oh, word, okay, it's like that. So fast forward, we in the office talking to these people. I took my test. I forget what my score was, but it was like I can have whatever job I want. And I was like MP, hell yeah. And and I'm just going for it. And like the black recruiter was like, "Yo, I'll give you a ride home." In the car ride home, he's like, "Yo, man, I'm telling you right now, do not sign on to be a military police." He's like, "We are located in many active war areas, like many war zones right now." And he's like, the number one people who are going in those war zones are military police. He's like, I know your recruiter just told you that you wouldn't have to worry about that. But I'm telling you right now that if you sign on to be military police, you will go to an active war zone. And I'm like, oh, shit. Like... And he's like, unfortunately, like, your recruiter's job isn't to inform you of these things. His job right now, the way his job works is like he just simply needs you to sign on. His job is to recruit you, and it's not to discourage you in any way, This is what the black dude is telling me, and he's telling me that if I'm to sign on, and he's like telling me these clerical jobs, he's like, it sounds boring, but you're gonna make the same money, and like he's like, and you're not gonna worry about any battle. Like he's like, and you're just gonna sit at a desk, you're gonna make the same money. You can like work out, do whatever you want to do, save your money, but you're gonna sit at a desk, make that same money, earn some rank, and then you'll come out, have some cash in your pocket. This is what the black guy's telling me, and I'm like, still, I'm like, all right, I'm shaking in my hand, like, all right, I'm hearing it, I'm listening, but it's in one ear and out the other, because I'm still like, basically in my head, I'm like, nah, I'm gonna be an MP, you know. But he's telling me like, no, don't do it, like, and because this is my thing. Part of me felt like I could smoke weed, go to the military. Since people smoke weed, since I told the dude I smoke, and he said people smoke all the time over there, figured I could probably smoke when I'm in an MP over there, like clearly. So I figured then once I'm done being an MP and I'm an FBI agent, that I could just take a detox if they ever drug tested me, and I could still smoke weed and be an FBI agent. This was like 19-year-old Jermaine's thinking, to be like a Rastafarian FBI agent, as if they wouldn't know. Yeah. So one day, that recruiter, he calls me, because he was like, yeah, all we got to do is, I did everything, man. I had everything set up, except he was like, you just got to come to this hotel, do the physical, like this duck walk or whatever motherfuckers was talking about. Yeah, go do the physical, sign the paperwork, and then I'm sworn in. You know what I'm saying? I'm signed in. And he was like, I was like, all right, cool, yeah, I can do that. And he was like, well, one more thing, let me ask you, can you pass a drug test today? And I'm like, no. And he's like, oh man, like what is it? Is it just like pot or something? And I was like, yeah, it's just like weed. And he's like, oh, that's not that bad. That's not that bad. Like, when's the last time you smoked? Now, I'm sitting there on the phone with a bowl in my hand. I'm smoking when he called me. And I'm like, today? And he's like, that's fucking bogus, right? Okay, up until this moment, this was the nicest dude ever. Every time I smoke, that's what I'm saying. Like, the black dude was telling me, like, yo, don't do that, blah, blah, blah. Because whatever I said I was trying to do, he was like, yeah, man, like, super positive on it. He didn't get no fuck, really. He wasn't really listening to anything I was saying. He's like, yeah, man, blah, blah, blah. But the second I told him that I had smoked weed today, when he's asking me if I can pass a drug test that day, it's like 10 years ago or something like that. And he's like, that's fucking bogus. That's fucking bogus, man. I did all this stuff for you. I put my, like, he's just going off on the phone. Like, I just got, like, holding the phone away from my ear. He's just yelling, just going off. And I'm just like, yo, this man's gonna murder me, man. Like, I don't even remember how that conversation ended. I just know maybe I just like hung up the phone, but I thought I made it clear that I smoked. I didn't smoke cigarettes at the time, and I couldn't join. I was about to go to the Army, but I couldn't because I thought I was upfront that I smoked weed, and he didn't tell me that was a problem. So if he had said something, maybe this podcast wouldn't exist, and I wouldn't have had a story. I'm just saying, like, had he been upfront when I told him, I was like, bro, I smoke, and he was like, oh yeah, no, that's fine, everybody smokes. I'm like, yeah, I know. So come on with it. I shouldn't have even attempted that, though. A little darker story, parental advisory here, or whatever advisory. I know my old youth pastor, when I I randomly went to this church in Brookfield when I was in high school. Ridgewood Baptist Church. Shout out to y'all. No, I went to. Was it Ridgewood? Yeah, it was Ridgewood for their youth group, and my youth pastor there, his brother apparently, his brother was either he was in service. I think he was in the army, and I guess the story was that he wasn't an MP, but they were short staffed on MPs. Something happened, and they made him fill in for somebody without any training as MP. Never did it before, and he was just forced. He had to. It's just like how it is. And he gets a call on base. It's a domestic disturbance. And so, he's never been trained, never did it, but he's the only one there. So he goes and responds to it. And it's this like gigantic, like roided out, like sergeant dude or whatever. I don't know. He said it was a ranking officer. Sergeant dude just beating the hell out of his wife. So he goes and tries to, he jumps on the dude, tries to get him off the wife, and, now he's wrestling with this dude, and they're, tussling around, and, I guess a gun comes, somebody pulls a gun out. No, I think the youth pastor's brother pulls his gun out on the dude, and they're tussling, and, the gun goes off, and, I guess, the couple had, a 3-year-old daughter in the residence who caught that stray bullet and ended up losing her life, unfortunately. And he was put in that position, with no training. He was just forced. It was forced on him to do that. And then he was, dishonorably discharged, all his veteran benefits, everything taken away from him, and he should have never even have been in that situation, and so I think it was probably best that it's probably the best thing for me that I didn't end up signing up for that, because I've heard from a lot of people that, later on, right away, a lot of people, they loved it. And then, give it a year or so after that, maybe 2-3 years in, all of a sudden they all, they wanted nothing more than to be out of there. For various reasons. I'm not sure. I mean, you're almost done, from what I would know. I know you, most of them signed, 7 years, so at that point, you're almost done. I say just finish out. Yeah, that was an unfortunate story. So I remember my youth pastor was telling me that, because he was telling me if I did sign on, I need to make sure that I get all these certain, guarantees put on paper. That I have this job, that I'm signed on, that I'm blah, blah, that I'm this, blah, blah, if this happens, then I'm out. If this, blah, 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 I need all this, in the contract. Because he's seen it firsthand, how somebody can get screwed over. That's a very unfortunate story. Speaking of unfortunate stories, I just wanted to touch on the Botham Jean murder trial. Let's see here. Brant Jean, Botham's brother, his 18-year-old brother, I believe is his age, he said in the courtroom, I want to try to look at this from a few different, or give a few different perspectives. So Botham's younger brother says to the convicted murderer, he says, I love you just like anyone else, and I'm not going to hope you rot and die like my brother did. I personally want the best for you. I wasn't going to say this in front of my family. I don't even want you to go to jail. I want the best for you because I know that's exactly what Botham would want for you. Give your life to Christ. I think giving your life to Christ is the best thing Botham would want for you. And then that's what he said before getting permission to give his brother's convicted murderer a hug. The judge, Judge Tammy Kemp, when she ran, she's on her second term, as a judge. And it says here, when she ran in 2014, she made a commitment to be accountable to the public, compassionate towards victims, and fair to the accused. Compassionate toward victims. I feel like I read that wrong this whole time. But no, I mean, compassionate toward victims and fair to the accused. I've lived up to those principles. So Botham Jean, if you're unfamiliar, it was a little over a year ago, off-duty police officer walks into the wrong apartment. I guess it was one floor below, or one floor. It was either one floor above or one floor below her apartment. She walks in, sees the wrong furniture. It wasn't her apartment, but the person who actually lived there, Botham Jean, it says he was on the couch in his underwear eating ice cream, and he was shot in the chest, shot and killed, convicted murder. It says in the court documents that the way that, like, when they looked at it, that he was either just getting up from the couch or cowering on the couch when he was shot in the chest. It was revealed in court that I think it was like maybe a Facebook post where one of the convicted murderer's friends posted a picture of a German Shepherd and said, "So cute, too bad they're all racist." And the convicted murderer commented and said, "It's okay, I am too." There was all this like things where the convicted murderer was saying how she's racist, and all this came out in the court, and then the convicted murderer was convicted of murder. And the judge, Tammy Kemp, sentenced her to 10 years. Judge Tammy Kemp, I just want to say, was a longtime prosecutor. She worked with the DA for a very long time. I don't know if she had prior relationship with the convicted murderer, but I think that's interesting. The length. I think it's interesting that this is a convicted murderer who broke into someone else's home. Tammy Kemp allowed for the castle doctrine, which in the state of or in Dallas or whatever, or Texas, it's you're able to use lethal force to protect yourself in your own home, even though she wasn't in her home. They allowed the jury to consider the castle doctrine. That's what Judge Tammy Kemp did. I think it's interesting that the same court system, the Dallas court system, where a convicted murderer gets 10 years and the rapper JK gets 55 years for, aggravated assault. Someone was shot and killed during a break-in. He was like 16. I think he was the youngest in the group, probably very influential. He was brought along. It was proven that he did not shoot, did not have a weapon on him, but because he was there, 55 years to this young man who did not murder someone, 10 years to the convicted murderer. The brother goes and says, I don't want you to rot and die like my brother did. And then he gave her a hug. The judge then gave her a hug and then brought her a Bible. See, that whole go with God thing, I didn't understand any of that. It's pretty, I don't know. And she gave her a Bible, gave her one of her Bibles. I don't see the aspect of, it's not too often you see a judge go and hug convicted murderers. It's not too often you see judges giving convicted murderers of such a high-profile case, of such a crime, this breaking and entering, and then she murdered a man in his own home, convicted of murdering a man in his own home, and you gave this person a lenient sentence. That's pretty rare. And then you hugged this person. That's pretty rare. It's just a pretty funny situation. It's a pretty funny situation. Rest in peace to Botham Jean. I just want to say that. From what I was reading this Essence article, and they were saying, like, you can't really blame Botham's brother because his perspective is simply that he's trying to come from the perspective of his brother, what he would believe to be his brother's perspective. And if that's the case, then yeah, I guess I can't. But I feel like the judge is still, regardless, acting in a very disgusting way. It's just not a fan. And another shady aspect of this whole thing, Joshua Brown, neighbor of Botham Jean, rest in peace to this young man. He was a key witness in the conviction of the convicted murderer. He was found shot in the mouth and in the chest right outside of that apartment. I think about 2 days after the conviction, he was found shot in the mouth and the chest right outside of the apartment. So, they suspect foul play when the key witness in convicting a police officer was shot in the mouth and the chest outside of that exact apartment. Rest in peace to that young man. I just don't understand it. You just hugged that convicted murderer, and this key witness in that trial just got assassinated. It's interesting. Wednesday Night Wars. Should we talk about the Wednesday Night Wars? You know, when I was a little boy, wrestling I was pretty into it. But one of the best aspects of it, the most entertaining aspects of it all, was the Monday Night Wars. When I was a kid, we had WWF, which is now WWE. And then on TNT, you had WCW, World Championship Wrestling. And we would often flip back and forth between shows, see what was more entertaining, like most people did. And And it was just amazing because you got like some of the best entertainment. You got some of the best entertainers out of there. You got your Stone Colds. You got your Rocks. You got like through that whole era, you had the NWO. Through that whole era, you had DX. And I think most, like, if you're a boy back in the day, back in those days, you did so many crotch chops. So many crotch chops. Shout out to the Joker. I forgot to mention the Joker was nonstop crotch chops. Crotch chops, crotch chops, crotch chops. Like, we got the same dance moves. But if you were every little boy in the 90s, early 2000s or whatever, just nonstop crotch chops, telling everybody to suck it. Because you had all these big characters, man, like from wrestling, from the Monday Night Wars, and they had to keep going all out to entertain everybody, just for ratings, man. It was a war, the Monday Night Wars, and now we got this brand new company, All Elite Wrestling, with all the indie darlings. I'm smart, ladies and gentlemen. I tried to explain this to you a few episodes back. So I'm a big fan of those indie guys. I'm a big fan of Chris Jericho, who came out of that era. You know, Chris Jericho is a big part of that. And you got Kenny Omega, you got the Young Bucks, you got your squad, you know. And you got some old WWE guys in there. But now on Wednesdays, you got a WWE show, NXT, which goes head-to-head for 2 hours against AEW on the Wednesday Night Wars. So every week after week, they're competing to put on better shows, like week after week. Like the thing that's been so boring as a wrestling fan, if you've been watching since WCW's been gone in 18 years, like most of the fan base left because once that competition was gone, WWE had no reason not to just do whatever the hell it wanted to do. And it did. And it got pretty boring. Everything got pretty repetitive. There was no reason to make new stars because there's no competition. There's no reason to try something new. And that's why I'm so happy AEW is here. Apparently everybody's got better contracts. People are getting health insurance now. They never used to get health insurance. Monday, the first show for AEW, Dynamite, I was pretty into it. Pretty great show. The crowd was packed. Jay and Silent Bob were there. It's pretty good show. It killed the WWE's show in the ratings, which doesn't really matter to me in the long run. It means nothing to me, but I'm just saying. That means that maybe next week or this week, WWE is going to try to go all out just to get people to steal that audience back, which is only good for us if we're fans. I'm only interested on Wednesday night. Let's talk about real fighting. All right, real fighting. Should we talk about real fighting? UFC 243. UFC 243, and I tried to tell you niggas. So, before we talk about the main event, it was Dan Hooker versus Al Iaquinta, which is interesting because when UFC came to Milwaukee last time, the main event was Kevin Lee versus Al Iaquinta. I'm pretty sure the co-main event was Edson Barboza versus Dan Hooker. Now, if you saw those fights, you saw that Edson Barboza straight dominated Dan Hooker. And one of the main reasons he was dominating Dan Hooker was these nasty leg kicks. He's destroying this man's legs. And finally, like in the third, like after just taking like body kick, leg kick, body kick, like he just finally collapsed from all the abuse. And the ref stepped in and stopped it. And in the main event, Ally Quinta defeated Kevin Lee in a 5-round battle won by decision. Just super gritty fighter. Now in this fight, going into it, I was like, clearly, like Ally Quinta's on another level. All right, Barboza beat the shit out of Dan Hooker. I couldn't have been more wrong on that one. Dan Hooker annihilates Ally Quinta. I was like, all right, Ally Quinta like implemented a little bit of head movement, which is his main flaw. He never gets out of the way of that jab. But this game, he wasn't checking any of the kicks. And right away, Dan Hooker, just lighting up that calf. Like, and he couldn't really like stand. He couldn't put any pressure on his leg. He kept having to switch stance. And if he didn't switch stance and he got caught out there, then he's like falling on his face because he's getting kicked in that leg repeatedly. And he just got beat up. He just got abused in there. He couldn't use any of his wrestling, especially once the legs went. Dan Hooker just went to town, just beat the shit out of this man. Did he finish him? I don't think so. No, he didn't finish him. He went to the cards. Finished him by a decision. And then he calls out Dustin Poirier. He was like, Dustin Poirier, I'm going to smash your face. Let's fight in New Zealand in January. Dustin Poirier responds on Twitter instantly and says he's fighting the Irishman, which is he's saying he's fighting Conor. Post-fight, they mention it to Dan Hooker. He's like, oh, he's chasing leprechauns? Like, all right, he can do that, but if he actually wants to fight, then he can come see me. Conor hasn't taken a fight in so long. I don't know. Maybe you should fight Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker looked like a beast. He looked like he's finally starting to look like the white Israel Adesanya. Speaking of Israel Adesanya, so I write down notes throughout the week, or just leading up to the episodes of just things that I might want to talk about. And I wrote down, the first thing I wrote down for the notes is Stylebender defeats Whitaker. That's the first thing I wrote down. Last week, I wrote Stylebender defeats Whitaker. That's the first thing I wrote. All right, so Stylebender's the challenger. Here's like these 3 guys come out. They all got like broken native tattoos on. So like the fact that they have the broken natives, I'm like, shit. Like, I'm like, no. Cause I saw it in an interview. They asked him about the tattoo he has on his chest that says Broken Native. And he was like, oh, it was actually the name of my first dance crew. So when I saw that these people had Broken Native like tattooed on their arms and shit, I was like, oh no, don't do it. And then Israel Adesanya comes out, does this whole choreography, like, but he's doing all kinds of flips because he's Israel. He's doing his like handstands and cartwheels, doing the whole thing. And that's a no-no. That's the number one thing you don't do in like UFC, any kind of like, you don't do no choreographed dance routine. I was talking about it like maybe like 2 or 3 weeks ago. This dude, Michel Pereira, he came out with these fucking crotch chops. These flying crotch chops, this choreographed dance. It took him 6 minutes to get to the cage. Then he came out to the cage, threw some more flying knees, like jumping through the air, but gassed himself out because he was dancing for 6 minutes. Usually when people dance beforehand, it's like, all right, you're setting yourself up for the knockout. And then Israel Adesanya went in there and, before that, let's rewind. It's track 6. Before the entrances, they show like them warming up in the locker rooms, like right before, like after the Dan Hooker fight, they were like, oh, that means it's time. And they cut to Robert Whittaker. And he's like warming up. And he's doing these like blitzing attacks. He's blitzing at his guy, throwing like 3 like attacks, like 2 punches, and then he's finishing with a kick. These blitzing attacks. All right. Then the camera cuts over to Israel. And he's practicing just backing up as his training partner is throwing these punches at him. But he's just practicing the check hook as he's backing up. He's just throwing that check hook. And I'm like, he's going to knock this man out. That's my prediction. He's going to knock this man out. First round comes. Rob Whittaker is landing. He's landing. He's doing these blitzing attacks. He's landing, but he's landing some. Israel is, moving out of the way. He's pretty long. He's just dodging. He's leaning, getting out of the way, real elusive. But at the same time, he's countering. He's landing that check hook as he's moving out of the way. And so for the first round's winding down, and pretty much like you would give that round to Rob Whittaker, but check hook. Israel Adesanya catches Robert Whittaker with that check hook, and he just floors him. Now, Israel just stood there and looked at him because he figured he didn't the way he went down like that, he was knocked out. He didn't need to do anything else. But the bell rang, and then the ref was like, no, that's the end of the round. And he was like, it should have been the end of the fight, but he was like, no, end of the round. Saved Robert Whittaker. But at this point, it was pretty much the end. It was the end of it. Second round comes, and Rob made no adjustments. He's still just blitzing at him, charging at him, catching those check hooks. And at that point, Adesanya just starts piecing him up. Pop, pop, body shot. And coming into the fight, Israel Adesanya said, last time I was here, I was sitting in the nosebleeds, and now I'm about to make his nose bleed. And he's just busting this man's nose up. This man's bleeding all over the place. Just as he said. And then, just boom, check hook. He was blitzing in at him. And I think he caught him one time. Well, yeah, he caught him one time, but Israel, leaned back, hit him with a 2-piece. Hit him with that left check hook. And he went stumbling back. Adesanya, just mounted him, just with, slow and steady, 3 good punches, and, really busted up his eye. And the ref came in, stopped it, second round finish early. Your new, undisputed middleweight champion of the world, Israel Adesanya. People doubted him for so long, and I don't understand. I was listening to Luke Thomas after the fight, and he's because I'll watch the Luke Thomas stuff, and I agree with everything Luke Thomas was saying on it, and he's everybody is saying oh, I don't see it, he's not that good, and he's what fight are you guys watching? What are we all watching right now? Because it looks amazing to me, and I'm dude, this guy's doing something I've never seen before. When I watched that Derek Brunson fight, I was trying to show it to my wife, but I think she was pretty unimpressed, but I'm the way he's it's not an amazing knockout with Brunson, but the way he's technically just with those perfect shots, and he's just making Brunson fall all over himself because he's just landing with these precision shots, and it was pretty masterful. It's pretty masterful to see, and you don't see too many people doing that, and he was saying and it was the thing that I thought was pretty silly too, was that everybody's main reason for saying that Israel Adesanya wasn't that good was just oh, if this fighter was able to do that to him, I'm better than that fighter, so I'll be able to do this to him. And it's you don't think, you're not even paying attention to the fact that he's able to improve, and he's consistently improved at an insane pace over the course of his career. Over the short time that he's been here, he hasn't been here 2 years, and he's already the middleweight champion. And now you know. Now you can't deny it. But for so long, everybody was saying he's not as good as he says he is. And he just dominated Robert Whittaker. Just dominated him. He's talking about like, oh, he would love a rematch. I don't think that's what you should do. I think Whittaker should fight Jared Cannonier. That's what you should do. You should have to prove yourself against Jared Cannonier. Adesanya wins. His mom and dad, his whole family come in there to the octagon. He presents the belt to his mom and dad, bows to them, and then he puts the belt over his mom's shoulder. Sets up his next fight against Paulo Costa. He was quick to dismiss a fight with John Jones next. He says his goal is to clear out the division first, which I respect that. And then he'll take out John Jones, which, man, I don't know if John Jones can hang with that level of striking, that precision, the way he handles things, man. I don't know. He's so strong. He's so strong. He's so fast. He's style bender. Every time we see him, he's so much better. He's so much better than the last version you saw him. And now you all know. He's my favorite fighter. I was trying to tell people that this was going to be fight of the year, but it wasn't. I mean, everybody thought that Robert Whittaker was going to put up more of a fight and that he would be able. No one thought that Israel Adesanya would be able to dominate Robert Whittaker regardless of how good Israel Adesanya is. That's just respect to Robert Whittaker. But I guess, I mean, there's the factor that, like, Robert, I don't think he's fought in like 2 years. So he's had that time off. He's had the injuries. So there is that. But can't take anything away from Israel Adesanya. He dominated. He showed up and he showed out, like you said. That's just pure facts. I wasn't going to talk about this, ladies and gentlemen. But I'm currently 2-2 in fantasy football. Yeah, I know. Sounded like a goddamn journeyman. I don't know. But this week, ladies and gentlemen, I should win this week. Looks like I'm going to win. Oh, I don't know. Well, I'm currently up 123-93. He's only got one more. Oh, he's got two guys playing right now. I've got Jason no, my whole team's done. I got 123. So I'm up by 30. Yeah. No. 30, I think. I can't count. Anywho, yeah, I think that's it. I think that's all I'm going to talk about this week. It looks like I didn't know if I babbled enough, but I babbled too much. So yeah, hopefully I win this week. We're gonna bounce back, be 3-2, bounce back and win this whole thing. You know what I'm saying? Scranton Stranglers is back in that ass. Anywho, if you want to follow the podcast on Twitter, it's at Babylon5Pod. You can follow your boy's main Twitter. I'll do some live tweeting usually for all the MMA, all the boxing. It's at my name's Jermaine. You can email me at babylon5podcast@gmail.com. You can subscribe to this podcast at babylon5.podbean.com. You can listen to us on Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes. Pretty much anywhere you want to listen to us, we're there. Just go and find us. Search Babylon 5 Podcasts. But, yeah. I think that's going to be it for me. Cross Chop Mania or whatever this episode is going to be called. Thanks for rocking with me. If you have been, you guys are the greatest. I love you all. Have a great week. Yeah. Peace.